My name is Scott Dysart. I'm with SIL, serving in Thailand, and this is a demonstration of Flex. Flex is a software tool that SIL has developed, designed to help linguists collect data, analyze data, working from all the way from your initial data collection up to production of, or publication of data in form of dictionaries, grammar sketches, or for use in other products. So to show you what Flex is, I'm going to open up my example Thai dictionary, or Flex Lexicon, and here is Flex. So Flex is divided into areas. On the left and the bottom, you can see we have Lexicon. If you click on text and words, you see the rest of the screen changes. Each area has its own little view, and we'll get into each one of these individually. But going back into Lexicon, which is where people spend most of their time. And in Lexicon, you can add words, you can edit words. So to quickly here, I'm going to add a word. Click on Create New Lexical Entry. And of course, it goes to the screen I'm not sharing. And I'm going to add a Thai word. I'm going to add the Thai word for seal, as in the mammal. And put in a Thai English word, gloss. This is a noun. This is a real basic entry. I'm not getting into any scientific bits, just adding a new word. And so now I have my word seal. So linguists will use this to collect words and add words and sort on words. All right. So that's lexicon edit. I can, if I knew more about seals, I can add more information in here, pronunciation, IPA, that sort of thing. So working down with browse. So this is just like lexicon edit, but it lacks the entry thing over here. So you can't, it's not intended for you to be doing to edit fields. You can edit individual cells if you want to, like a spreadsheet, but that's not the view. A lot of linguists like to have lots of data, lots of columns. And so the browse view is a way to have lots of columns. You can click over here, the little thing here, and add columns just to show the information you're after. Dictionary is what your data would look like if you were going to publish it. I'll just click on it real quick. So this, if I were to make a simple dictionary right now, this is what it would look like. We'll get into how to create a dictionary later. There are a couple ways to add words. One is one by one, as I did with seal. Another is using a technique called rapid word collection. The idea is you get a workshop and you have a bunch of people gathered around a table who know different things about the different culture, different aspects of life. And then you say, okay, today we're going to talk about daily life right here. We're going to talk about things in the kitchen, food. So you just say, okay, write down everything you know about food, what foods you eat, what's good to eat, what's good not to eat, how do you cook things, all different kind of words. And then you have a person who collects it, and then you have someone who can type it into Flex, and it's designed to go quickly. You have a lot of people doing different parts. So this is a whole method for doing word collection. There's a website, rapidwords.net, I believe it is, where it shows you how to do this. And so Flex has a way to facilitate that. Of course, especially in new languages or languages that don't have an orthography or don't have well-defined spelling, things change over time. So Flex has a way to handle that with what's called bulk edit entries. So with bulk edit entries, you can come in and you can make some changes. Like, for example, if you've been working in a language and you're doing IPA and you're describing it and you realize that you've used the wrong description, you've listened to a lot more and you realize that it's more rounded vowel or something to that nature, then you can use the bulk replace to go in and change your IPA, and you can change all the vowels to a different setup. So bulk edit, this is something you really need to practice with and kind of know what you're doing before you kind of get into problems. In a reversal, it is not enough to say, this word has this gloss, therefore the gloss is, if you're doing like a lookup, like a tied English tied dictionary, it's not enough to say chicken is guy, therefore guy is chicken. In that example, it is, but there are other ways to do it. For example, like in English, like yard bird is an idiom for chicken. So if I wanted to have yard bird in my dictionary, I could put in my reversal as a way to look it up. I can put in yard bird, go referential sense, come over here, and actually I'm going to find chicken because I don't know how to spike. I don't know how to type tie and set reversal. So now I have set up a reversal. So we get more into that later if we're talking about how to make a reversal index. So the next thing is text and words. The idea with text and word is if you're wanting to do discourse analysis, you're wanting to find out how a language is used. It's one thing to have individual words in isolation, but how are they used together? You can do this. There are a couple things you can do with it. So you can use the text and word as a source for words. Like in this example here, I've got this word in gloss, it's lesson 1. I've got information about it. I pulled it from a website where I found it, what I did with it. This is the baseline, this is the text. If I want to go over here to analyze, you can see that I've already done some, that you can see that this is a name, Mani, it's a proper noun. This is me, to have, but what my dictionary or lexicon doesn't have this word yet. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to add a word. So I create new entry. And this word is, I believe it is eye. Eye, has eyes. And it's going to be a noun. And create. So now my dictionary has, I've analyzed this word and its eyes. If I were to go to Lexicon and do go to Lexicon edit or browse even and do a search filter for eyes. Come over here and okay. And now there's my word. That I should have shown you that word didn't exist before, but it exists now. So I'm going to go back to text and words. And so now I'm ready to do the next one. Well, we have something unique to Southeast Asian languages. Well, maybe not totally unique to Southeast languages, but we see a lot is there are no space word boundaries. So what do you do with that? So right now, Flex thinks this is all one word, but that's not. So I can go into baseline, and I happen to know that right here is the word. I'm going to put it in a slash, and Flex knows that slash is another way of inserting word boundary. I'm going to go ahead and do it right here since I'm at it, right at it. And we'll go back to analyze. And so now Flex has already has broken these words, and you can see that this blue is saying, hey, I think that these are the same. So I can, real quick, I can either prove that throughout the text, like, yep, that is always to have, or I can improve this particular one because, in some instances, there are multiple senses to a word form. But in this instance, at least in this example, I'm just going to hit the check mark plus to save some time. And so now you see that this one is no longer blue and this one is no longer blue. But let's say I'm not sure if that word is always eyes. So I'm just going to hit but I know it's eyes here. I'm going to hit the check box. So now that's not this blue color. And I'm going to come down here, and on second thought, that is eyes. So I happen to know that I forgot, this is Manny. That's a name, that's always correct. And so now I have this word and this word to deal with. I'll just do this word. So again, it's the same. I can add an entry, create a new entry from this text and word. And this is a crow. So you can see here that I have, when I typed the gloss, it did a search. It's looking for basically spelling, like a couple letters. See these two tie word characters match these two characters. It's offering suggestions. Maybe they're the same. but they're not. So I'll hit create, and now I have that. So then you just work down the text entry by entry by entry, and the larger your lexicon, the quicker this goes, because more chances are pretty high you've seen the word before and Flex knows what to do with it. Right. And another thing you can do with text in words is for discourse analysis. So here's tagging. This is something that's not used very often, maybe because people don't really know much about it. Is you can mark subject, verb, and object. So here I'm going to mark this as, in this sentence, crow caw me daw. I can't pronounce Thai anything, but that sounds about right. So this is subject. This is object, direct object. And one of these means verb, but I'm not sure which one it is. But then you can just work down the text, and that helps people with discourse analysis. Another thing you can do is, further on in the process, is called text chart. I'm bringing this up here. So just showing you that discourse analysis starts out with assuming subject, verb, object, which happens to be what Thai is. So we're going to leave it alone. But as we know, languages have object, verbs. I mean, any way you can come up with a language to be written or spoken, people have come up with it. So Flex can handle it, but you have to configure Flex for it. So, and in my example here, I've already worked through this sentence, subject, verb, object. So crow in line 2, subject. Me is verb, and then eyes is object. And then I can do this sentence, which I haven't analyzed this sentence. I mean, I know that's the verb, I know that's the object, but I haven't analyzed that word. So I'm gonna leave this one alone. So but you can work it all the way down, and through this, you can set up all these things to help you with your discourse analysis, to know how the language is written. Right. And of course, discourse analysis also has concordance. So Flex actually has 2 lists of words. It has your lexicon, that's your text and your official list of words with information about the word. And it also has your concordance, or words in use, how they're used. So in concordance, word list concordance, these are all the words that have historically been used in my project. And if it's ever been in my project, it's listed, and I can remove them. But if it's not being used in any text and words now, it's got a 0. So I can show, again, this works like the text and word, and you can filter, you can use edit. So greater than 1. These are all the words that currently are in use in my text and words, and it shows you where the word is found. It shows you the analysis that's been done. So you can work down, you can see, so this is my word for, this is called Edward, wants, owl. So again, you can see where it's used, how it's used. Statistics, again, this shows you total number of unique words. My lexicon from text and word is not very big, not at all. People can get into the thousands in here. Of course, you can do bulk edit like you can in text and word. So you have to be careful with this, because this is like, if you have spelling that's not yet been formalized or generally accepted, but you're collecting text, and then if you find out a word is actually, we've approved how we're going to spell this word, or we're approved what vowels are going to be implied, not written, making it more efficient. Once that is kind of set, you can come in and you can do bulk edit, and that will change how that word appears throughout all of your corpus. So it's very powerful, but like all things very powerful, very dangerous. So use it with care. So that is text and words. The way, it's interesting to know that text and word and lexicon can be linked. So if I were to go to, back up to a lexicon, and I'm going to do a search for filter for chicken in my gloss. I want to see if I can find where that is used in a text and word. Like if I have a text and word corpus that's big enough, I should be able to find my words, because again, having your words in isolation is fine and dandy, but how are they being used? That way you can figure out what the layers are phonologically, how it's changed, those sorts of things. All right, here I want to find an example sentence for chicken. So I can click on the down arrow next to example and then find example sentence. And because I have marked up the word chicken in an entry in text and words, the Flex will find it. So I want to insert this. I'm going to hit the little checkbox here and click add. So now you can see example, my example sentence here. And you can see I have a reference. So I can click on example 1.1 and it'll bring me to my example sentence. So another thing that is not often used, but we find interesting is grammar. This is where you can record how the language is structured, and the various rules and features. The idea with this is if you fill the grammar section in as you go, the phonemes, features, rules, that sort of thing, eventually you can generate Flex will help you generate a grammar sketch, which is useful and helpful. And then another feature is the notebook. A notebook is intended to be again, the idea is you want to contain everything you know about the culture and language in one place. And if it works right, it all links together. So way back when I took these field data methods and management, the idea was you as the linguists were always trucking out there. You always had your notebook. And this is where I show my age of my children and say your handy dandy notebook. And you're writing down everything you see and all your observations with careful notations of where you are, what village, who you're talking to and all that. And then you come back and you put it in the computer. Flex, the notebook, is designed to be the place where you put things in about your notebook. So here's an example. Like way back in 2018 on March 14th, I was observing some rice farmers at work. And so I took notes and I was watching them. And I then I went back to Flex and I started typing in everything I saw and what I thought and what was going on and all the little details. And so that's the notebook. What is also interesting is that notebook and text and words can be linked together. So if you are having a conversation at the market and you are writing down or recording a conversation with someone at the market, you have, even if you transcribed the conversation at the market, what you have is the conversation. You don't have the information or the metadata around that conversation. You don't know necessarily, or well, you know it in your head, but you're apt to forget eventually where you were at the market. Is it the things about the conversation? So the notebook can actually record the metadata about that conversation that you had in the market, and then you can put in the text. And so text and words can be linked to the market. So this, assuming I've done it right. So this is in this example, this is the metadata about the conversation. And then I can click here and go to show in interlinear text. And now I've got this conversation. I've got this conversation about mechanized rice farming as a baseline text and words that I can analyze in text and word. And then also, if I can do it right, if I'm in info, I can go down here and I can click, if I'm in here and say, oh, that's interesting, I want to show more, I want to remember more about that or look into it more, I can click here in notebook record and click show record in notebook, and it brings me to this. And then, so if I've got it linked right, and if the example I was hoping to show had worked correctly, I could then have my word in my lexicon. I can say, oh, this is where it shows in a sentence. That's good. Click on that. And, oh, tell me, I want to remember more about this sentence. And if I've got a notebook record that sentence was captured in, I can click on it and I can now remember more about the context of that sentence. So that's how it's all designed to work together. Another thing that Fieldworks has is lists. Anybody who's ever worked with data over long periods of time knows that it's important to keep your data normalized. It's important to know, to have the same way of spelling a thing, to have the same way of classification. So Flex comes with, out of the box, with a series of lists, and you can add more lists along the way. So if I'm in my notebook and I have I'm always going to the same place. There's places or locations. So right now I have home. So I'm going to add a location. I'm going to call it a rice field beside my house, or market, or the market downtown, or the Watt, or the big Watt, the little Watt, whatever, different locations. So then you can go back into notebook and locations. I can pick from locations, and of course it shows up over here. I can check box, this took place at home, and also the rice field by my house. And then also participants. Who are my participants? So if I've got, this Thai teacher, this person, that person, and I'm always talking to them, I can kind of encapsulate who I'm talking, and by using lists, it greatly increases the likelihood that I will always spell the name correctly. Or if I have reasons to change things, this should enable me to change things. I could edit the people in list, and I can go to my name and say, take out, say there's a reason to anonymize the last name. So if I go down to notebook, now all that's changed, right? So if there's a reason to do that, then it can be done. So that's a really brief overview of Flex itself. We've looked at Lexicon, how you can add words, how you can sort words, how you can filter words. So that's how you get data, how you analyze data. The question then becomes, well, what do you do with the data? It's one thing to have your dictionary become the greatest collection of information about this language on the entire planet, but if you don't share it with anybody, then it begs the question of what's the point? Flex has as its heart the idea that you're going to want to produce a dictionary, and there are a couple ways to do that. One is with a print. So you can go to dictionary, tools, configure dictionary, and this is where I can change things, I can add things, I can hide things. So just for an example, it's a silly example, I could hide the gloss, add the gloss, those sorts of things. Or you can format the way things are appeared, or with periods and italics, style-based stuff. So you can get hours into this, so that's something we can look at much later. Okay, so you do that, you make your dictionary, then an output option is PDF. And this is an example of a trilingual dictionary in the Philippine language, Sambali, Tagalog, and English. So you can make a PDF that you can then give to a printer to print to a print book. That's one thing. Or you can put it on a phone, or you could do what's and if you have access to it, SIL has a product called Webinary. This is a web-based dictionary. It's web dictionary, Webinary, and this is Daile as an example of a Southeast Asian language. And so this is I kind of view a Webinary as like a cultural portal. Like if you want people to know about Dailö as an example, send them here. And so there's some culture information here. You can Dailö to English. You can browse this is Dailö to English. You can add links. So if you wanted to download, it doesn't have a download here. You can search. You can add some links. So you can have a Webinary, and people in SIL, this is fairly easy to set up. And then you can push to, so then when you get entries in Flex, you can then push up to Webinary, and then in a little while, your new entry is added. And Webinary is nice is because if you get like 2,000 words, you have it, you can push it, and people can use it. And then you can get 2,000. When you get 2,100, you push it up. Now you have 2,100 words in your Webinary database, and again, it's for people to use. Another thing, and unfortunately, I couldn't get it to where I could share it properly today, but SIL has another product called a dictionary app builder. And unfortunately, I couldn't get it to where I could show my phone on the screen on my computer, but I can show screenshots. So I'm going to bring this over here. And this, if you can see it, is a screenshot of my phone. Again, this is English Sambale Dictionary. And you can see this is right now English. I could have clicked Sambale and you'd see Sambale first. And then this again comes out of Flex with our dictionary app builder. So you can, and then it can be made available in the Google Play Store. So you make the app, you put the app up in the Google Play Store, and then people can download it, they can have it. And then let's say that your 3,000 word dictionary now is a 4,000 word dictionary. Well, you then just update the app in Dictionary App Builder, then put the new app, the updated app in the Google Play Store, and then within the process of updating, everybody who has downloaded your dictionary gets the new version of the app. And so now you have a 4,000 word dictionary on all the phones. And this is great because good luck adding another 1,000 words to a print dictionary that's sitting on someone's shelf. I don't know a way it can be done, but with this, if they get it off the Google Play Store, then you can add it. So that's something that's exciting to me. And then another thing that is really new, as in like very, very new, is what's called alpha tiles. And alpha tiles is an attempt at, come on, I'll get back here. Okay. Alpha tiles is an attempt to gamify spelling and multilingual education, especially for minority languages. So Alpha Tiles is a product developed by an SIL member in Mexico. It was gaining wide popularity over here. The idea is you give Alpha Tiles a set of words, some spelling options, good orthography, and then you can make a game, and then kids can say, now how do you spell this word? And you push the buttons and what comes next, that sort of thing. And it's a game, and you can see as the checks go across, there's some success and built in, and the kids like it. And as I was telling some people, like during the COVID season in this part of the world, when parents go to work, kids are either at home or with them at work with their phone. And so we could come up with a game that they can play that helps them, that makes it exciting, learning how to read and write their language. And so that's Alpha Tiles, but that requires a set of words, and we can get that from Flex. So those are in brief some ways that you can produce dictionaries or products that use letters in your words from Flex. And another thing, let's go back to my Flex, is, as mentioned earlier, and I don't have a good example for it, is a grammar sketch. When you're wanting to publish what you know about the language, assuming that you have filled in the information in Flex, you can click the generate button and it will come up with a rudimentary grammar sketch that you can then take and edit and publish. So that's kind of nice. So those are some things that you can use Flex for. Another thing being that you can use Flex for is if you're in a translation project, Flex and paratext can link. So I'm going to switch over to a new Flex project that I have linked to an example translation project. All right, okay. And I'm going to go to an example paratext project. So I'm not going to show how you can do it, but it can be done. So this is my example paratext project. It's in English. This is my example Flex project. It's also in English. So what I can do is, if you have it linked, you can have Flex, or sorry, paratext, come on, find word in dictionary, in this instance, Flex. So I wanted to find the word daddy. So now it's gone through my dictionary, and it's a dictionary of 3, so it didn't take very long, but it found the word daddy, that it's a noun, and it has as a gloss father. I can open it in the lexicon, and I can edit the lexicon. It would open up Flex if I wanted to do that. Another thing you can do with this is right-click, find related words. Yeah, it's not. Okay, let's do this. Find related words to daddy. Okay, so if you have marked up your words with what are known as semantic domains, that's when we talked about the rapid word collection, those categories of things. If you've marked that up and then you're doing a translation, you can have paratext ask Flex to look for words similar to this with similar semantic domain markings. So in my lexicon, I've got 2 words, daddy and papa, and you can see semantic domains. 41912, that's father, mother, fictive kin, or kin, parental kins, and also daddy has the same thing. So if you've well marked your dictionary with semantic domains, then you can get Flex to look up words. Another thing you can do, which you can click find in dictionary, like I don't have brother, I can actually create the word brother if I want to in my lexicon. But that is another way you can use your lexicon. So I'm going to get out of this. So far we've talked about how you can use Flex, like a broad overview. We've talked about what you can do with the data that comes from Flex, but what about if you want to share your data? Well, there are a couple ways you can do that. Share meaning collaboration, not share as in this is a cool word, let me show it to you. Minimize this, go to lexicon. Okay. Flex uses a thing called Mercurial. You don't need to worry about what that is, except for that it facilitates the way to record changes. So if I were to click on send receive with other Flex users, I have a couple options. Send receive, it borrows from your email days of old where you had Outlook or Thunderbird before you had IMAP or something, or Mappy for Gmail. You would click send receive, and it would send your emails, and then it would pull your new emails down, and it would favor sending over receiving. So send would come first, then receiving. So that's where send receive comes from. It's just borrowing a term. All right, so unfortunately, I didn't think of bringing a thumb drive, but in Flex, there are 3 real ways you can do send receive to share in a collaborative way. So if I were to sharing with you, I could put a thumb drive in my computer, and the Flex would detect the thumb drive, click send receive the flash drive, and it would put the data on the flash drive. And then I would give you the flash drive, and then you do send receive get project from colleague. Especially if it's the first time, then you would click on it and it would look for the thumb drive and then bring your data. Then you can make changes, then do send receive to the thumb drive, give me the thumb drive, back and forth. SneakerNet is another way of referring to that. So that's offline via thumb drive. It's one way to do it. Another way to do it is with through a server. And right now SAL has a service called Language Depot, which is going to undergo substantial change in the not too distant future. But the function, I'm not going to show it because how it works will change, but the idea behind it will be the same. There's a central server I hook my project to. I click internet and do send receive, and up it goes to the server, and then it mixes my changes with what's on the server, and then it pulls it back down. And then the next person, if you're on the project, would do send receive to the server. It would pull down my changes, mix with your changes, push your changes up. So it's really, even though we call it send receive, it's really receive send. It's just kind of the way it works. And then it goes back and forth. And this works really well, and you can have a lot of people on the project to be working, and we have a lot of people doing it. Another product that we have is Language Forge. I'm going to bring it over. I don't have it staged, and I don't have a good way to demonstrate it right now, but I'll just show what it is. Language Forge is a way for you to share with someone who doesn't really need to be bombarded with all that extra linguistic analysis stuff. They just know their language and they know words about their language. And you can set up Language Forge to work with your project to where they just get to the computer and they just type words. They type definitions. They say they're bilingual. They know their language and they know a language of water communication. They can type their language and then they can type the other language. And then that can get meshed in with your Flex project, and then you can do the analysis in Flex. This is kind of by invitation only, so you have to invite people into your project. So that's Language Forge. That's another way of collaborating, working with other people. Get back over here. So that is sharing. Another thing to do, so we showed how to, when it comes to data importation. So now we're going to talk about how Flex can interact with other projects. So we saw that Flex, Paratext can look at Flex. We're going to show how you can do some other things with other tools that interact with Flex. I'm going to minimize that. So let's go back to Flex, to my Flex project. Where'd it go? Minimize this. Okay, that's in the way. All right, so a tool we have the use of is something called SpeechAnalyzer. And SpeechAnalyzer is a tool that can, again, take several hours of demonstration. We're not going to get into how SpeechAnalyzer works, except that you can take a WAV file of someone speaking and you can mark their, you can isolate the words, like this is a word, and you can see tone and things. And then if you do it right, you can chop this file up, this WAV file, in such a way and mark it that now I actually have several words here. Then I can export this in such a way that I can now import it into Flex. And this is really fantastic in that if I reference non-blanks. So these are the words. I don't yet have Thai for these. So these are the words that I just imported into SpeechAnalyzer. You can see the reference 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And so here's the IPA for it. What's great is the source for this word was not me typing. The source for this word was an audio file. And when you export it out of SpeechAnalyzer will chop that file, that large WAV file with that large sentence or whatever it is, list of words, into little bits that surround the reference. So now, if I do it right, you can click the play button.
Moki.
And you can hear the word. That actually didn't click right, but the idea is you can get the word. And then, so all of these now have audio files.
Moi.
That's more better. Actually missed. That's too funny.
Moni.
Again, the dangers of live demonstrations, but that's the general idea. Another way that you can import, so that's importing individual words. But what about if you're you have collections of sentences that you want to work with? Let's say SIL has another tool called SayMore. SayMore is a tool that you can use to record people and transcribe their session, and you can annotate it, and then you can export that into what's called a flex text file, and then you can import it into text and words. So if I go to text and words, I could then have text and words. Another thing you can do real quick before we run out of time here is in Phonology Assistant, it has a way of taking your IPA. So in my text and words, my lexicon, I've marked up a lot of IPA. So in Phonology Assistant, I can then do analysis. If I want to search for all words that start with gr, gr. So these are the words like grop, like mu grop, which is a lovely way to cook pork. I can find those. And then if I realize that, and if I have got it sound set right, I can go to data corpus, find crispy, which word? If I've got an audio file for it, I can play it. Bread toaster has a word. Of course, it's not playing right now. Naturally is not playing right now. How about if I?
ที่ปิ้งที่ปิ้งเครื่องปิ้งเครื่องปิ้ง
So you can hit F5 to play it, or Control F5 to play it over and over and over again as you're listening to it. And you can say, and if you realize that you want to change the way it's change the way it is pronounced or spelled phonetically, you can click Edit Source Record, and it will bring it up into. If you had Flex closed, it would open up Flex, and it would bring it up. So that is a very fast hour on an introduction into Flex.